Hi, everyone. It's Wednesday, April 16th. You're watching CBC News BC. I'm Benit Brach. We're here in the Vancouver newsroom, and here are your top headlines this afternoon. Well, the Bank of Canada has announced that it's holding the interest rate at 2.75%. This is the first time since last June that the bank hasn't issued a rate cut. Its decision favors caution as American trade policy remains pretty unpredictable. Now, Governor Tiff Macklem says the bank is waiting to see how those tariffs unfold in the future. And BC Highway Patrol says it's investigating an overpass strike on Highway 1 in Langley. It says it got that report at 7:52 this morning that a box truck struck the CP Rail overpass on Highway 1 westbound just after 232 Street in Langley. RCMP say the damage appears to be minor, but that it is hard to distinguish that damage from other overpass strikes in the past. Police say the driver has been identified and has spoken to them as well. Vancouver is also set to have more hotels. Council has approved changes aimed to increase the number of rooms to accommodate visitors for major events in Vancouver. There are currently around 13,000 hotel rooms in the city, and tourism officials suggest the city needs 10,000 more in the next 25 years to meet demand. The policy would include encouraging building in downtown, allowing more height and density for hotels, and also giving existing hotels more opportunity to expand. Vancouver Park Board commissioners have sent a pilot plan to charge for parking at some community centres back to staff. This had called for parking fees at community centres like Hillcrest, Trout Lake, Kerrisdale, and Hastings this summer. Also, the new Brighton outdoor pool, golf courses at Langara and Fraserview were going to be added in the fall, along with Van Dusen Botanical Garden. Now, some Vancouverites have mixed feelings about it.
It's like pulling blood from a stone, man. You know, like you have to get here really, really early.
I think it's a good idea, but you know, a lot of people here can't afford. They come here, they can't really, you know, it's a community center, so they can't really afford. They don't want to pay extra for parking.
It takes away from the community center itself, which is a public amenity that people like to enjoy, and it just, I don't think it would be a great idea.
Commissioners are asking staff for more details about that plan before potentially approving it. And the Vancouver Park Board has 180 parking lots. Most of them are free. There are about a dozen with paid parking in Stanley Park, the West Side, and Queen Elizabeth Park. In 2024, they earned $9.4 million in revenue. And a state down south is making a social media pitch for Canadians to come back. California's governor is reassuring Canadians that they shouldn't let Washington ruin their beach plans. One city in California that really relies on Canadians is Palm Springs, and its mayor told the Early Edition that they value those Canadian friendships.
They are here for many months out of the year. They are part of our community. And they're our friends. We volunteer with them. We eat dinner with them. We hike with them. We golf with them. So they're a big part of our community. And our message originally and still today is we appreciate you. And
meanwhile, Ravi Kahlon, the chair of the BC Cabinet Committee, told Canadians and British Columbians to hold the line and that it is working. And that's what we got for you so far. You're watching CBC News BC. Stay here. BC Today is up next.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Well, tonight, the federal leaders will square off in a French debate. We'll hear what Green Party co-leader Elizabeth May has to say about her party being dropped from the debates. And we're asking you, have you made up your mind in this election? Or can the leaders' debates still sway your vote? Plus, the new Women's Soccer League kicks off tonight. How excited are you? And do you think this new league and Vancouver Rise FC can compete for your eyeballs? Soccer star Diana Matheson will take your calls. I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. Well, tonight the leaders will debate in French, tomorrow night in English, and the events will be broadcast live on television, radio, and online, including here on CBC. We're asking you on the open line, have you made up your mind in this election? Or can the federal leaders' debate still sway your vote? Our phone numbers, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can also hit pound 690 on your cell phone, or you can email bctoday@cbc.ca. Mario Canseco is president of Research Co. and joins me here in studio. Hi, Mario.
Hi, Michelle.
We're going to hear from Elizabeth May in a few minutes about the news this morning. Last minute, the Green Party was dropped uninvited from the leaders' debate, saying they no longer met the criteria. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it really depends on the definition of the word endorsed, because when they were essentially allowed to go into this debate, they said that they had enough candidates endorsed to actually participate. Now that number is a little bit lower. It's the lowest number that we've seen in the past couple of elections of Green candidates. We have to go back to 2000 to a number of candidates for the Greens that is lower than the one we have right now. So there's definitely a complication getting those signups and essentially having people run for you.
They said they were confident they had 343, all 343 ridings, but now it's down to 232, just about under 70% of ridings. And the rule is you need to have 90%. One of the criteria would be. Some people may wonder then, if that's the case, why are the Bloc Québécois allowed to be on the debate? So tell us about that.
Well, what happens with the Bloc is they are actually polling a little bit higher than that. When you look at the national average of the polls, they're at about 5 or 6%, which is where they were when this debate was announced. That is the reason why they can be there, even though they're, of course, not running candidates everywhere, because they only run candidates in one single province.
In Quebec, yeah. Okay, so we're going to hear, again, we're waiting for Elizabeth May to connect with us. She'll be with us in just a moment from now. I think we're going to hear from her. She did speak at 11 o'clock this morning, just about an hour ago, and talked about the commission itself, the Leaders Debate Commission. This was created to organize the debates. What is the role of this commission? They're the ones who came up with the rules. They're the ones who made this last-minute decision, and they're the ones who moved the game, the debate up as well because of the hockey game.
We often talk about how secular Canadian politics are. Not in Quebec, the religion is the house.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They have to do that first.
Priorities straight. And I think we do have Elizabeth May now. Again, we're going to take your calls as well, though. Okay, in just a moment. She is connecting. I can see her. We on the screen, we're just connecting with Green Party co-leader Elizabeth May, and we are asking you ahead of tonight's French debate, the English debate tomorrow. You can see and hear them, of course, on CBC. What role, how significant are these debates going to be for you? Have you made up your mind, or can they still sway your vote? And what do you think of the Green Party being dropped from the leaders' debate? Our numbers are 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, and you can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. Our email is bctoday@cbc.ca. Well, this morning, we learned that the Green Party has been dropped from the federal party leaders' debate. And they said that the Leaders Commission, the Leaders Debate Commission, says the Greens no longer meet the required criteria to participate. Now, the Greens did decide to reduce their number of candidates running for strategic reasons in ridings where they think the Conservatives would likely win. And the Debate Commission has dropped them for that reason, but the Greens are not backing down. Elizabeth May, co-leader and the incumbent running in Saanich, Gulf Islands, is my guest, and we're just trying to connect with her right now. She was connected a moment ago. We're having some technical difficulties in our connection with Elizabeth May. So we're hoping that that we do fix that. Let me just take a call here if I can. Chris in Richmond, your thoughts on the debate? Are you going to watch?
Yeah, definitely. Well, the English one, not the French one.
Sure. Okay. So tell me about, what you're looking for. Can it still sway your vote, or are you already decided?
It'll definitely sway my vote to hear what people have to say about public transport, because it's quite relevant that the Greens are here, because I think they're really the ones that are advocating for this. But I think that's an important piece about both affordability and about the tariffs as well in terms of public transit. Like buses are essentially every bus driven in Canada is made in Canada, and they're driven by Canadian bus drivers. Like both of these companies employ thousands of people who are manufacturing these buses, and especially in this time when there are so many auto workers that are out of work, I think it's quite important that they invest in public transport. And also, think about how high your last car payment was, right? Here in Vancouver, a bus pass cost, 10 times less? 3-zone bus pass was like $300. And that's much less than what a car costs.
Do you feel you're hearing enough about public transit in this election?
Yeah.
You do?
I mean, I think, it's definitely something that I'm concerned that, I do know that it's technically a provincial responsibility, but it's definitely concerning that the federal government isn't playing a big enough role, a big enough attention to this as well. I think, there are a lot of, obviously, we previously heard a lot about the funding sources, and that's all municipal and provincial as well. But I think it's quite important that the federal government definitely invests nationwide in capital projects, industrially as well, because it is an important piece of our economy.
Yeah. Chris, thank you so much. And you brought up the issue of climate change as well, in the relevance of public transit. Craig is calling us now from Abbotsford. Hi, Craig. Your thoughts on the leaders' debate and the election?
Yeah. Yes, I've got all kinds of thoughts. It's really unfortunate that the Greens were knocked out of the debate. I think that they have a unique voice that is important. It's not as though climate change stopped happening just because of Trump and polarizing politics and things. I'm out here on the farm here in Abbotsford, and yeah, things change a little bit year after year. It's very hard to detect, but I think the Green voice still needs to be heard. That's a fact.
Yeah, how's your thoughts on your riding? Yeah.
Sorry. My riding specifically is I'm caught between a rock and a hard place over here in that we've got sort of what I consider the two front runners, which is Mike de Jong and Sukhman Gill. Abbotsford South, this might not be a surprise to anybody, is a fairly conservative-leaning place, and I don't think we've ever elected anybody but conservative folks over here. I got to say I'm pretty conservative myself. Now, Sukhman Gill is the conservative candidate, but again, he's sort of been he's been muzzled or he's just not talking very much, and I have a hard time voting for a person whose voice I haven't really heard in the media, or I don't know where he stands on a lot of different things. Now, we have a tremendous Indian population here in Abbotsford, and lots of them are farmers. I believe Sukhman is a farmer too, but that's sort of just what I've heard. I didn't hear that from him specifically.
What did you think when you heard that Mike de Jong wasn't chosen as the candidate for the Conservatives?
Well, I thought that was a bit of a bungle on the part of the Conservative Party. I gave them a call this morning to try and figure out who thought that was a good idea, because now the votes for folks that want to vote for someone who is sort of a proven conservative-leaning fella, well, that's Mike de Jong. I don't know anything about Sukhman Gill, and I don't mean to play the age card, but as far as I know, the fella's pretty young. Do you happen to have information to confirm that?
You know what? Let me look up his age right now. As you say, you don't want to play the age card here, but Craig, I really appreciate hearing from you. That rock and hard place that you're talking about there, we know as well that retiring Tory MP Ed Fast has endorsed Mike DeYoung, who is running as an independent because he was not chosen as the Conservative candidate. Any thoughts on that? That's an interesting race.
It's an interesting situation because he's not the only one who was essentially not allowed to run. We have the same situation with Anita Huberman in Surrey City Centre. Why you would say no to a former cabinet minister and run somebody who finished in 20th place out of 28 candidates in the township of Langley for council? That's something that they haven't said anything about yet.
Craig, really good to hear from you and hear where your thoughts are at right now at this stage as we head toward the election, general voting day, April 28th. And of course, tonight is the French leaders debate, the English leaders debate. Tomorrow, you will not see, well, according to the Leaders Commission, you will not see the Green Party leader there, but they say they will be there. Elizabeth May joining me now, co-leader of the Green Party and the incumbent for Sandwich Gulf Islands. Elizabeth May, thanks so much for being with us.
Well, thanks, Rochelle. I'm sorry for the technical problems in joining you, but certainly I'm interested in the Mike DeYoung situation and Ed Fast's endorsement, but we're talking about the Green Party being in the debate tonight.
Yes. Okay. So you learned early this morning at about 4:20, I believe, that your party had been dropped. Your co-leader, Jonathan Pedno, said, I'm still going to be there. He's confident. He expects the commission will change its mind. What do you think?
Well, the commission made a ruling based on the existing set of rules that all parties agreed to in advance. We met all the conditions they put in place. That situation hasn't changed, but we did see a quite large lobbying full court press to get us out. So we saw major newspapers say we shouldn't be there. It took a departure from, I mean, it was, for me, it felt like deja vu all over again, because I've had large establishment parties try to keep me out of debates since I first started being considered as the kind that the Green Party was strong enough that we should be in, starting in 2008, when there was strong pressure brought to bear from the public. And it forced at that point, the consortium to say, okay, she's going to be included. And that was my first time on the stage in a leaders' debate. But every election is a challenge. I didn't expect this from the Debates Commission.
Things have changed, though, right? Because now what you're coming forward with is actually 232 candidates that does not meet the threshold for candidates in 90% of the ridings.
The threshold is for candidates being nominated. We nominated a full slate. We had, of course, as we know, not only for the snap election, but Prime Minister Carney had the option. We were all the time wondering, is it going to be April 28th or May 5th?
Okay.
If it had been May 5th, all of our candidates would have had time to collect their signatures. Collecting signatures on a tight timeline, we did put out a press release April 8th that we were having a lot of trouble. Volunteers were finding themselves harassed in the doorstep. Some people were even threatened. We had people saying we can't go out there anymore to collect signatures. We just don't feel safe. There were a lot of issues that we've never experienced in the previous election campaign. So we had the candidates, and the Debates Commission interpreted the rules the same way we did. That's why they said as recently as last week, the Greens have met all the rules, they'll be in the debate. And the backlash came from the predictable forces that don't want to hear the voice of Greens.
Are you suggesting that somehow the commission, which is an independent agency, has been influenced by parties?
They've been pressured by many groups, including Globe and Mail Editorial, National Post. They've experienced pressure. Yves-François Blanchet questioned why we were in. I'd ask, and I'm not trying to push the Bloc Québécois out, but for the average Canadian voter, they're going to get to hear what the leader of the Bloc Québécois has to say, only running candidates in one province. We have over 200 candidates running in every province in Canada and the Northwest Territories and the Yukon. And that isn't, I think it's anti-democratic for the Debates Commission to reverse itself on its own ruling less than 12 hours before the debate. It's quite shocking.
This is, I guess, are we getting into some interpretations here because the bloc is also polling higher, right? So what it depends on what you're looking at as a criteria, I suppose. But in terms of the facts at this stage, you have 232 candidates. That doesn't make the 90% threshold, and.
But the rules, Michelle, I'm sorry for interrupting, but the rules weren't that we had to have 243 candidates on the ballot. It was very specific. How many nominated candidates do you have? We had, and that's why the Debates Commission ruled recently, even after all the names were in,
Right.
reviewed by returning officers, et cetera. There's no question. I was very disappointed that so many candidates didn't make the ballot.
Okay.
But they were trying. They were there. They were nominated. Being nominated isn't nothing. It means we vetted them. They were standing up. They were saying, I want to be on the ballot. But between time pressure, and we have to say, we're not the only party complaining that there were problems with returning officers having different interpretations, being not quite sure what they should do. I'm not going to ever attack Elections Canada. As a body, it's struggling to do the very best it can with a snap election and a lot of new returning officers. I'd say everybody's doing their best. But the Debates Commission ruled we met all of their criteria. And in their letter today to us, they added something completely different and new, which was based on a misunderstanding in one media interview. That should not be sufficient to boot us out of a national leaders debate.
Let me just move on to tonight then. How will that work? Mr. Pedno says he will be there regardless. So what do you expect will actually happen?
Well, we obviously hope the Debates Commission will reconsider. We did work to obtain legal advice and see if we could find a lawyer who thought we could get into court in time for an injunction. Best legal counsel, really respected nationally great lawyer, said, no, you can't. I used to practice law too. Getting an injunction is not saying you can even prepare the paperwork in the amount of time we were left between when we were informed. We were particularly disappointed that it appears the Debates Commission started telling the media we weren't going to be included last night. If they told us when they started telling the media, we might have been able to get to court first. So we're in a time squeeze where all we can do is rely on the Debates Commission to review their rules, review the decisions they made and communicated to us as recently as a few days ago, and realize that what they're doing is caving to pressure, and that will discredit them long term. We need to have public trust. It's a new institution, the Debates Commission. It's only existed since 2016. Its existence was based on the appalling situation in 2015 when large parties colluded to get the debate canceled. So the Debates Commission was supposed to assure fairness, and here they are being unfair. So we have to ask them to reconsider.
Elizabeth May, I'm really glad that you were able to connect with us. Thank you so much for taking some time.
Well, thank you for your time, and good luck to us all. This election is about what's fair and good for Canadians and for Canada. And political parties are, well, at least ours is at service to Canada. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a good day. That's Elizabeth May, co-leader of the Green Party. Okay. Your thoughts on what she had to say there, Mario?
It's essentially a problem of semantics when you think about it, because what the commission said is you need to endorse the candidates in a specific number of ridings. Whether their definition of endorse means they need to be nominated is a whole different idea. But of course, as Ms. May said, they don't have enough time to have an injunction to try to figure out what this means. So something to learn for the next one. And it's too bad for the Greens because they're hoping to be there tonight and tomorrow, and it looks like it's not going to happen.
Yeah, a dramatic turn in the election for sure, and the debates leading up to the debate. I have time to take a call here. We are taking this conversation to past the news updates, so we are going to be able to go to our calls as well, asking you if you're watching the debate, have you made up your mind, or can the leaders sway you tonight and tomorrow? 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. Your thoughts as well on the Green Party being dropped from the debate. James is on the line in North Delta. Hi, James.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts? Did you want to comment on the Green Party?
Yeah, so I really appreciated hearing Elizabeth May there. I would consider myself a longtime Green supporter. since high school. I was campaigning for them in Ontario, and I remember, like, at that time, back in 2008, and I remember this, it like she said, it feels like deja vu. Why are we having this argument again of whether or not the Green Party should be included in these debates? And the last-minute decision from the Commission to exclude them just seems absurd to me at this point, especially when you consider all of the things we're worried about in this current election. We see what I would describe as democratic backsliding in the American system down to the south. And here we are trying to actively exclude, I feel, a very important and valid voice that Canadians need to hear. It is absurd to me that we have national debates that include the Bloc Québécois, which is only running in Quebec. Like, living in North Delta, out in BC, Western Canada, it doesn't matter. Like, I want to hear what they have to say, but I can't vote for anyone from their party. It doesn't matter, but I still have to hear what they have to say. It is absurd that we have a party that is running candidates, not in every riding, but across the country, and now their voice is being excluded from this debate. And then we're having this whole argument again. It is totally unfair, and Canadians deserve to hear what the Green Party has to say. In Delta, we don't even have a Green candidate running here, unfortunately. So it's come down to the other parties at this point.
Okay.
But I still think it's valuable for people to hear what they have to say. And it is a product of, I would say, our electoral system, the way we run politics in Canada. We really should be taking a closer look at how to kind of inoculate ourselves against all of these pressures on democratic societies, and why I think it's incredibly disappointing that the Liberals backslided on their promise in 2015 to not move forward on electoral reform.
Okay. Thank you so much for the call. Really appreciate that. It does seem like a lot of people want to comment on the debate and democracy as well. That's James in North Delta. Again, the leaders debate in French tonight, tomorrow in English. The live events will be broadcast on CBC, radio and television, and online. I have some emails here now on this. We have Randy, who writes, if only the Greens could get some progressive backers with deep pockets who play a long game. And Randy writes, a Green NDP coalition would be the way to go for Canada and the future. Lisa writes, I'm going to listen to both of the debates. I know for sure I won't vote for Pierre Poilievre. To me, he is a mini Trump. I have been an NDP supporter for 5 decades and still am, but I have to vote strategically this time for Liberals to ensure that Pierre doesn't get in, and I don't think the NDP has a chance. I'm disappointed the environment isn't the top priority, along with tariffs, and the environment is what rules us all. Thank you very much, Lisa. Just listening to, going through some of these emails here. And June writes now, I'm listening with sadness that the Greens have been dropped from the federal debate. It's so disheartening given I'm in northern BC, where the Green Party's voice is so important to hear from on both a locally and countrywide voice. And the Bloc's point of view is somewhat not applicable here or appropriate. We had a debate in Terrace where only 2 candidates showed up, being Taylor Backrack of the NDP and Rod Taylor of the CCP party. The Conservative candidate Ellis Ross did not appear until after the debate was over, and it was suggested that there was a restriction as instructed by the leader. It is of great concern not hearing all voices by either being silenced or removed. June, thank you very much. bctoday@cbc.ca is our email address. You can let us know your thoughts. Will you be watching the debates, listening to the debates, and can they still sway your vote, or have you already made up your mind? You can give us a call. This is BC Today here on CBC. I'm Michelle Elliott. Thanks so much for being with us. And we are going to continue to take your calls on the debates coming up tonight and tomorrow. French tonight, English tomorrow. You just heard Elizabeth May, co-leader of the Green Party. What do you think of the Greens being dropped from the federal leaders' debates? And will you be watching? What are you looking for in these debates? Can they still sway your vote? We're going to take more of your calls along with Mario Canseco, president of Research Co., my guest here in studio. All of that coming up, and Diana Matheson, of course. We're going to talk soccer. And finally, a new women's pro soccer league kicks off tonight. Diana Matheson will be my guest in about 10 to 15 minutes. Right now, it's CBC's news update time. And here's Rob Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. The Bank of Canada has announced it's holding its current interest rate at 2.75%. Its decision favors caution in the face of unpredictable U.S. trade policy. Governor Tiff Macklem says the bank is waiting to see the effects of the tariffs on the Canadian economy. As we've been hearing on the show, the Green Party has been excluded from the federal leaders' debates. The debate commission says the Greens don't meet the criteria because of a reduced number of candidates. Co-leader Elizabeth May says the last-minute decision to exclude the party is undemocratic and outrageous. And Life Labs workers rallied outside the BC legislature this morning in the 7th week of a strike. Union President Paul Finch says workers are fighting for improved pay and working conditions. Finch urged the province to reconsider contracts with Life Labs, which is owned by a U.S. company. And now the forecast on the North Coast, mainly sunny this afternoon with a high of 10. Highs reaching 12 with lots of sunshine in the Peace. In the central interior, including Prince George, sunny with a high of 10 degrees as well. Highs from 10 to 13 with a mix of sun and cloud in the West Kootenay. A few showers in the East Kootenay. In the southern interior, including Kelowna, mainly sunny with a high of 14. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria, and the Fraser Valley, lots of sunshine this afternoon with highs from 13 to 17 inland. That's your CBC News update from Vancouver.
Rob, thank you very much. Rob Zimmerman in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. Bring out the snacks tonight because there's hockey, there's a debate, there's sports going on in Vancouver too. So there's lots going on. Yeah, lots of entertainment and education, if you will. Yes, the federal leaders debate will take place in French tonight. They will be in Montreal, the English debate tomorrow, and you will see on stage Liberal leader Mark Carney, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, and Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet. And as you've been hearing, the Green Party has been uninvited and dropped from the debates. The federal election general voting day is, of course, Monday, April 28th. Asking you if you've already made up your mind or can these debates still sway your vote? Taking your calls now on those topics. Mina is joining us from Salt Spring Island. Hi, Mina.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure can. Go ahead.
Okay, so this news about the Green Party, and it's annoying. It's absolutely annoying. Especially for Elizabeth May, who is a veteran MP. And I recall they tried blocking her before, and I can't remember now if she did actually finally get on.
She did talk about that, yeah.
The irony of they'll change the time for male sports events, but to listen, not being able to hear what these important politicians are saying is annoying. Now, I also want to comment about debate format. It's a colonial format, and we need to have those leaders sitting around a round table with a conversation about everything we're concerned about. You know, and they can use a talking stick, but let's have conversation. Debates are just polarizing, more polarizing. We need to talk about things together.
That's an interesting point, Mina. Thank you so much. Mario Canseco is with me, president of Research Co. Yes, the format of debates, you know, how enlightening are they if people are trying to find out what are the policies and the positions of these leaders?
It can be quite daunting for the average viewer, of course, because you have a very specific time in which the leaders can speak about things. There's a limit in how they interact with each other, which makes it more complicated. It's ultimately also about figuring out what you're going to be asking and allowing people to say what they have to say. Part of the problem is when you have to watch with you and you say to somebody, you only have 10 seconds, it's going to be tough to explain my haircut plan.
Yeah. So I'm smiling because I work in radio and I'm often up against the clock. Exactly. Mina, thank you so much for that. It's interesting to hear from people in terms of their thoughts around the debates, but also election and democracy. It seems to be an overriding theme for people right now.
Well, it's an important situation because you want to hear as much from all the parties that are contesting. And, the guidelines were there. It's unfortunate for the Greens that they won't be there. In other countries where you have parties that run in a specific place, I'm thinking about Spain with the Catalan nationalists or the Basque nationalists, you include them in the debate. But you don't say to somebody who's not running candidates everywhere, you can't be here.
Okay. What do you think people are looking for tonight? What do the leaders who will be there need to do?
Well, I think people might be expecting a knockout punch from somebody, but it's really tough to do. I mean, you got to go back to 1984 and Brian Mulroney's You Had an Option, Sir, to John Turner to come up with something like that. To me, it's more about what we share the next morning. This is the moment where Pierre Poilievre was sort of knocked a little bit. This is the moment where Mark Carney's French wasn't great. This is the moment where Jagmeet Singh revitalized his campaign by saying something meaningful. That is what's going to matter in this era of YouTube videos.
There it is as well, the role that social media plays. Charlene is joining us now from Main Island. Your thoughts on the debates, Charlene?
Well, not so much on the debate because I may or may not listen directly. Not because I'm not interested, but because I tend to throw rocks at the television. But I'm in Elizabeth May's riding, and I am going to be strategically voting, probably. I often, when I think about her, I have this little question in my mind. I wonder, did Mr. Trudeau ever call her into the office and say, hey, Liz, give me your thoughts on this or that thing? And I don't know that. But I don't particularly think a single Green representative or two is going to do much for us. However, in our riding at the moment, the Greens and Cons are running neck and neck, and I want the Liberals to succeed. So I'm going to be voting probably for Elizabeth May of the Greens in order to get the Liberals in.
Charlene, thank you very much for your time and your call. Spencer up next now in Prince George. Hi, Spencer. Your thoughts on the debates?
Hi there. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be driving down to Vernon to watch it with my in-laws, which is going to be super interesting. Hello?
No comment?
Can you hear me?
Watching with the in-laws, that's always fun. So go ahead. What are your thoughts then?
So I'm really disappointed that the Greens are being dropped. I'm probably not going to be a Green voter, not that they're super relevant in my riding. But, I'm very worried about this sort of long-term Overton window shift to the right that we've certainly seen in the States, and we are seeing up here also. And as we take more and more voices away from what is the left in Canada, it can only hurt us in the long run.
Spencer, thank you so much. Safe travels as you head over to your in-laws. Robert is next now at Brentwood Bay. Hi, Robert. What are your thoughts on the debates?
Oh, good afternoon. Well, I'm completely outraged about this last-minute decision by an anti-democratic decision to exclude the Greens. None of the other parties are talking about the environment. They're running scared when they're asked a question about it. We need the Green Party in there to at least raise the issue. As far as I'm concerned, there's no issue more important than our environment and the climate change that we see occurring all around us. Wildfires and the rising sea level. I mean, what could be more important? And this commission is excluding the Green Party based on some obscure ruling that is not, it's what I've heard about it is accurate. It's not even accurate. It's just been caving into political pressure from probably other parties that remain unsaid, mainly the two larger parties. They don't want the Green voice because the Green Party would completely embarrass the Conservatives and the Liberals on their environmental policy.
Robert, thank you.
I feel muzzled and excluded. I'm in the greenest riding in Canada. We have a Green MP and a Green MLA, and I feel my democratic rights are being violated by this commission. I strongly suggest that they should reinstate the Green Party immediately. We need that voice. We need to hear that voice, not have it muzzled. It's outrageous.
Okay, Robert, thank you so much for your voice on the open line here. Tim is next now in Kelowna, and let us know what your thoughts are on the debates, Tim.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. Just to touch on that last caller, I totally feel that it's unfortunate for Green supporters that they were taken out, but I do believe what the news is saying as well, that this race has really become a two-horse race. The Liberals and the Conservatives are pretty high in the polls. And I think really this election and the debate is going to be just the Liberals and Conservatives. That's what people are looking for. I totally understand there's other parties that people can vote for, but it's going to really come down to those two. And I think the Debate Commission, as much as they may support all Democratic choices, they understand that the mass population is trying to focus on those two parties probably. And, there's only so much airtime, like you said. There's only so much time for questions. And with a party that's not really polling at all, there's really no point to have them on the debate for viewers. And I understand that's unfortunate, but that's just how it's gone.
And yourself, are you watching for anything specifically, or?
I've pretty much made up my mind for the most part. I think it'll be really interesting to see how Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney go head-to-head. It seems like in these last couple of weeks, the Liberals and Pierre have kind of not really touched on a lot of things for the most part. It's just a lot of slogans from both sides talking about different aspects. So it'd be interesting to see where they come in with their policies.
Tim, really good to hear from you in Kelowna too. Let's wrap up with Mario Canseco. Perhaps you can just give us a sense of what trends we are seeing in the polling right now.
Well, I think this is what is making this election so compelling. Usually you have the green vote or the orange vote sort of moving into the red vote in the final stages of the campaign. And since the campaign was called, we've seen a lot of people who used to vote for the NDP, who used to vote for the Greens, coalescing around the Liberals because of Donald Trump. So whether we like it or not, this feels like an American election. One big blue group, one big red group, and everybody else who's not one of those two major parties has been struggling.
Mario, great to have you back as always. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Have a good day. That's Mario Canseco, president of Research Co. And the French debate will start at 3 p.m. Pacific, a couple hours earlier than had been scheduled in order to avoid conflict with the Montreal Canadiens game. File that under Meanwhile in Canada. 12:42 now. This is BC Today, and CBC will have live coverage, of course, of the English language debate tomorrow as well, starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time. You can tune in for special coverage on that. Well, yesterday we talked about California Governor Gavin Newsom's social media plea for Canadians to go back and visit his state. And we asked you, are you buying Newsom's plea and petition? Well, the consensus from our callers was a resounding no. This morning, Ron DeHart, who's the mayor of Palm Springs, spoke on the early edition, and here was his message to Canadians.
Well, I'm not going to twist anybody's arm. When the time is right and people feel comfortable, we know and we will welcome them with open arms back in Palm Springs. But we understand this is a challenging time right now, and the negative comments that are coming out of the administration, there's no place for that. So when folks feel comfortable again, and we don't have this craziness going on, we're going to welcome everybody back to Palm Springs when they decide the time is right.
That was Palm Springs Mayor Ron DeHart speaking with Stephen Quinn on the early edition this morning. And yesterday we did ask you about U.S. travel. Some more emails now. Barbara wrote from Black Creek, somewhat reluctantly, my daughter and I are going to New York City in May. My brother-in-law is in his later 80s, and I feel a need to see him. And my niece is begging us to come and give them some comfort. My daughter is a bit fearful that Gilead will take over while we are there. Thanks for your email, Barbara. And Gilead being a reference to The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Jean writes from Vancouver, I made the decision in 2016 not to travel to the U.S. with the exception of a family vacation in 2017. I have stayed true to that decision. My opposition is in that 70 million plus Americans consistently vote for Trump, unlike non-democracies that have no choice in their leaders. Thanks for your emails. bctoday@cbc.ca. Like I say, bring out the snacks. Whether it's the sport of politics or actual sports, there's a lot to watch tonight. And if you're a soccer fan, you are excited. Canada's new professional women's soccer league kicks off its first match tonight at BC Place, and Vancouver's Rise FC will play host to the Calgary Wild. It's the first of two matches on launch week for the Northern Super League. And the newest pro sports endeavor stretches from coast to coast with teams in Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and Halifax. Now, there's been a lot of anticipation for this, so let us know, how excited are you about finally having a new pro women's soccer league? Do you think it can draw fans and compete with other BC sports? You can give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone or email bctoday@cbc.ca. And I'm very pleased to welcome to the show Diana Matheson. She's a former national soccer team player and the co-founder of the Northern Super League. Hello, thanks for being with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, what has today been like for you so far?
Yeah, one of the Calgary Wild players yesterday in the press conference said it felt like it was leading towards your wedding day.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what it feels like. It's felt like my wedding day, and people keep telling me to make sure we all enjoy it. So that's the plan for tonight, for this historic moment, first game of women's professional soccer in Canada.
Be in the moment. Yeah, I mean, this is a long time coming, right?
Yeah, this project's been working on this for 3 years. Yeah. I would say women's professional soccer coming to Canada, a decade or two prior to that. We've had such success on the national team stage, obviously, with our women's national team winning Olympic medals, winning gold. But the reality is the rest of the world's been investing in their professional leagues in a really meaningful way. And in the last World Cup, there was only 2 teams out of 32 that didn't have a league yet, and it was us and Haiti. So it was time to get involved, time to build. Because we're one of the best women's sport countries in the world, one of the best women's soccer countries in the world, and it was time to start building at home.
Wow. And why Vancouver? Why choose Vancouver for the inaugural game?
Yeah, I mean, Vancouver, so many women's soccer, so many soccer moments. The Whitecaps here, the women's team in the olden days was some of the early days of Canadian women's soccer. Christine Sinclair and other greats played for that team. Olympic qualifying tournaments, the Women's World Cup in 2015. And on top of that, Vancouver Rise was the first franchise on board with the Northern Super League. So I think very fitting playing against the second team on board, the Calgary Wild, for this first game to kick off tonight.
Yeah, and Christine Sinclair, of course, being involved might have something to do with it too. I mean, it's just synonymous, right? Yourself and her are just synonymous with women's soccer here. How do you see this model, this league model? You've played everywhere, right? So how do you see this model as different or the same as what you have experienced throughout your career?
Yeah, I think, in a lot of ways, it's going to be a professional soccer league. It's going to look like other leagues. We run from April to November. We're going to have 25 games in a season. Out of 6 teams, 4 are going to make the playoffs in a 2-game semifinal, and there's going to be a championship game. You're going to see some world-class players here, players from the women's national team, stars like Quinn, Emma Regan.
Yeah.
Women's national team legends like Erin McLeod, Desiree Scott, and international players as well. We have up to 8 international players per team from over 20 countries. Where we're different, how we had the privilege of building here in Canada, is a league built by women for women. The reality is a lot of the women's professional soccer leagues around the world were built from men's soccer investment, which is in some ways a strength, but also can be a challenge, and that decisions are made for men's soccer first and women's soccer second. And here in Canada, every dollar we get, every decision we make is for the best of women's soccer, and so many metrics from day one. Even though this is a brand new league, we're going to be a top 5 women's league in the world, from the talent we have to the revenues we're driving to how many fans we expect in the seats on average game attendance. We're already going to be a top 5 league. So a great starting place for us in Canada.
Wow, that's the kind of fire you look for in an athlete, that's for sure, let alone in the founder of a league. We want to hear from our callers too. How excited are you about time? A new professional women's soccer league? And let us know too, your thoughts on where this will fit into the landscape of sports in BC. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. If you have a child, a daughter who plays soccer, if you play soccer, what does this mean to you? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I know a lot of parents who have their kids in soccer, of course. And Diana Matheson is my guest, of course, former national soccer team player and the co-founder of this new league, the Northern Super League, kicking off tonight. I have watched a lot of youth soccer, just having that in my life, in my family. I've seen the way young girls respond and react to Christine Sinclair. You know, I went to an event where they had a meet and greet, and you just see the excitement. I mean, what kind of role model do you think this league and its players will be for future players?
Yeah, that's a huge piece of it. Sink grew up at a time when we didn't have visible role models. Sink said a few times, you know, she dreamed of being a Toronto Blue Jay because that's all she saw on TV. That's changing. Now kids will grow up, girls and boys, and they're going to get to see women's professional sport on TV. You know, PWHL, now the Northern Super League, Toronto Tempo coming next year. And they're going to know that pro sport is for everyone and there's a spot for them. And it doesn't just mean for those that are lucky enough to become professional athletes as well. Not everyone is going to be a professional athlete, but for anyone that might dream of being a broadcaster or work in the media or be a coach or a referee or work in sport business like myself, there's lots of opportunities across this whole thing for everyone. And now that you can see it, hopefully people will dream about being it.
What was it like for you to go from playing to the business of sports?
Yeah, retiring as an athlete is always a bit of a journey. It's always a unique situation. Retiring in your mid-30s. I was very lucky that, you know, the timing worked out. I retired. I went straight back to school because I knew I wanted to be involved in whatever was going to be built for professional women's soccer in Canada. I knew something was going to start eventually. So I went back to school. I did my MBA through the Smith School at Queen's University, and I did a soccer-specific master's through UEFA as well, and just spent 2 years as a full-time student learning as much as I could. And, that kind of led directly into this project. So yeah, just nonstop. I feel very fortunate. I get to work on something I'm just as passionate about as I was playing. So I know I'm very lucky in that respect.
Wow, that's commitment. Just went headfirst into it. So how confident are you that given, you know, this is a new league, a lot of sports and a lot of sports fans in BC, but how do you see the Northern Super League competing with, you know, hockey and football and other sports?
Yeah, I think on the ground here in Vancouver or in other markets, there's lots of you know, as you said, competition for the sports dollar. I think we've found a lot in women's sport that there's some overlap of that fan base, but it's not exactly the same fan base. It tends to be a different group of people that go, so not necessarily direct competition there. I think it unlocks sports for a lot of new fans to sport who maybe didn't see themselves as part of the fan group of traditional men's sport that's been here. So we know women's soccer brings a lot of new fans to soccer, which is great. And then if we zoom out, I get the privilege of being 10,000 feet up, getting to zoom out. I get to travel around the world and see other women's leagues. We also know that our league is competing with women's pro leagues around the world for talent, for coaches, for things. And we know the Canadian fan base for women's sport is one of the best in the world. We're one of the most progressive cultures that put women and girls in sport and support them and watch them on TV. Canadian fans have been following the women's national team since 2012, if not sooner. So pretty good awareness of, hey, Canadian women are good at soccer. So
it's not a new concept.
Not new. Yes, we've got fans that have kids. And you know, the business plan was built on average attendance of 4,000 fans a game. So that's not massive, especially compared to men's sport. But if we do that, we're already the third best country in the world for average attendance. So that's where we're starting Canada. We're already world class.
We actually have someone on the line who is on her way to BC Place.
There we go.
Teresa is calling from Kamloops. Hello.
Oh, hi. Oh, my gosh. I'm half listening to you on the radio, and I also have you on my cell phone. So you can hear me?
We can hear you on your cell phone. You can hear us, so you can turn your radio down. Teresa, where are you right now?
Well, I just pulled over on Highway 5 so that I could make the phone call, but I am driving. I'm on my way to BC Place.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. How exciting. Okay, tell us about why you decided to make the trip. What's the draw for you?
Well, athletics has always been a part of my life, but never in a million years would I have thought that a female could play professional sports. I'm 55. I guided a son and a daughter through all of their sports, and a daughter that played soccer and for Whitecaps Rex. And it's just been a total journey to watch Dana Matheson get Project 8 started. And, like, I'm going to see history tonight. So I'm fortunate enough that I was able to take the day off and make the way down, and I'm so pumped.
Why don't you go ahead and speak with Dana? Because she's been an inspiration for you.
Oh, well, I mean, Diana, this is so exciting because you are like the way that you played, the dynamics on the team. I can't wait to see dynamic players just like yourself on the field tonight.
Oh, how do you feel about that, Diana?
Oh, thanks so much. Make some noise. Do me a favor, make some noise in the crowd. You know, Canadian fans can be a little subdued sometimes, and we got to build a new women's soccer crowd culture here. So thanks for coming. Your support means everything. And yeah, it's a new era now. Like we're building it. You said it. It's history tonight. There's only one opening game. I was lucky to be at one of the opening games for the PWHL. If anyone was at the PWHL hockey game that was here in Vancouver, there's an energy. It's a different crowd. Tonight's historic. There's only going to be one. So thanks for making the trip.
Teresa, I have a feeling you have no problem making noise.
Well, that's interesting she said that because I was at a sports event the other night and it wasn't very loud. Oh, it was the Canada women's soccer game. I was in Victoria last weekend. And so we were not very noisy. And so that's a really good point to make sure that we make some noise tonight.
And I think you can bring it just from talking to you.
Yeah, well, now I got to make it there safe. Don't get a speeding ticket on the Coke because I'm so excited.
Drive safe on the Coke, okay? And thank you for pulling over. Safe travels. Have a fantastic time.
Okay, thanks, Diana, for all your work. We really appreciate it. There's so many people out here that you don't even know that we're just so proud of you and what you've accomplished.
Thanks so much. We'll see you soon. I think there's a bit of a fan fest in Terry Fox Plaza there, and the players enter at 5:30. So make sure you're there. Check that all out. Can't wait to see you.
I will.
Teresa,
excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for the call, Teresa. Bye. Teresa pulled over on Highway 5 there on her way to watch the game tonight. Diana, all the best. Good luck with this league, and have a blast tonight.
Thanks so much. I'm looking forward to it. There's not a better city to kick this off in.
Yeah, enjoy yourself too. The wedding day has come. Diana Matheson is, of course, a former pro soccer player, co-founder of the Northern Super League, and that game is tonight at 7. Thank you for all of your emails. We have Scott in Burnaby who writes, I'm a longtime coach with Burnaby Girls and now BFC. Incredibly excited to see professional women's soccer taking root here in Canada. Thank you for that. BC Today at cbc.ca.